higher birth rates in this country. Baby boomers are retiring. I did my part, but we need to have higher birth rates in this country. Baby boomers are retiring. I did my part, but we need to have higher birth rates in this country. Meaning, baby boomers are retiring, and we have fewer people following them in the workforce. Baby boomers are retiring. I did my part, but we need to have higher birth rates in.
What is aborticide?
According to Merriam-Webster, 1. The act of destroying a fetus within the uterus. 2. An agent that destroys the fetus and causes abortion.
So a lot of people don't even know that proper term is not abortion, but it's aborticide. An abortion actually is natural when the body decides to take the life of the child on its own. But aborticide is when you actually use force outside of the woman's body to murder the child. But anyways, so we see that two places, I think Alabama just passed a bill for, abortions that are pretty strict on the pro-conservative side. And you also saw Georgia do something similar, heartbeat bill. And that's been a lot of topic of discussion. Alyssa Milano has went, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and talking about, she wants a sex strike and all that other nonsense. But that's not too much of a nonsense because we know that white women used abortion and birth control as a tool to negotiate the terms with white men. They wanted the husbands to share some of that rape and pillage with them. But let's talk about that though. I want to talk about that from a different angle though. Like, we're watching white people, white men in red states, take concerted efforts, Derek Jackson's favorite word, to deal with their declining numbers of birth rates and their high suicide rates, right? So they know that by 20, whatever, they're not going to be the majority. They're going to drop from like 69% to around 49%. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about what that means for black folks. You hear Cynthia Beta-Coon-G talking about they're inferior, they're dying, they're this and that. But I'm like, our numbers aren't going up. We're not going to be... I know, like, when you listen to Roland and other black liberals in the media, they make it seem like it's going to be all kumbaya, a bunch of people of color in the boat together. But we know that's not the case. So, but I want to talk about that for a minute, though. Like, because... especially for the women who claim to be fake patriarchal and they're not. They're just fake ones online. And they like aspects of patriarchy. They like to talk about certain things about the benefits, but they don't really talk about the trade-offs, the power that comes with that, right? You have white men who literally are implementing legislations that deal with their woman's reproductive systems. Like, black men don't have the power to do any of that, right? And I don't hear too many of them co-signing it or... acknowledging that, this is one of the trade-offs of dealing with men, a community of men who are patriarchal, who believe that women and children are a protected class. And in the process of having the control or the duty of protecting women and children, you got some liberties that you can take. And most of these women online who cry about patriarchy and going 50-50 and all that stuff, who claim they don't like those things, they never talk about the other half. And quite frankly, many of them don't defend the men who are patriarchal, who do stuff, who on a public scale talk about these things. Why is that, right? Because it's all smoke and mirrors. They don't really feel that way. And the one thing that bothers me too is like a lot of women talk about how, black men failed and they lost the war and they let feminism do this and do that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It wasn't just black men. All more conservative, traditional, patriarchal, right-wing men of all races in this country lost that battle, right? They all lost that. They couldn't compete with the government. Apparently the CIA was hoping. Gloria Steinem with the Miss Magazine. No one could compete with that, right? So it wasn't just like, black men, you failed and you didn't stop our women from being silly and going over here with the white women. No, a lot of people failed in this country. A lot of men who come from patriarchal structures, they can't have the control over their women and dictate things the way other races of men do or the way white men do in this country. So it ain't just black men. But again, they don't go that deep. they only surface level. That's why I don't believe any of them, and they're all fake, right? But let's talk about this bill real quick and what does this all mean for black folks? So I'll start off with this, right? So, and her page is public, and she went on a rant, so it's not like you can't find this, you can't see this. But a young lady who I follow her channel, social media. She's a pro Second Amendment black female, and she went on a rant today about the bill. And she does live in Georgia, but she went on a rant about black men being white supremacists because I guess she saw some black men supporting the bill or didn't have an issue with it. And I did what I had to do. I didn't go too far back and forth with her. But she went on this rant. I'm trying to find what she actually said. I wonder if she deleted the post because I actually don't see the thread on my IG. But anyway, she was going on and on about black men being white supremacists and you not supporting the black women. And that's a dilemma that I'm in as far as like when we hear women say things about men leading, doing this and doing that, sometimes black male or any male leadership doesn't coincide with what women want to do. So what happens in that situation where, right, like if you're saying that black men should support black women, which means do whatever they want and support whatever they want to support, this, even if it doesn't benefit you as a black man, right? And I'm thinking about, well, there's a constant complaints about black men not being patriarchal enough and whatnot. There's some validity to that, right? I think that by and large, we've all been promoted egalitarianism, and a lot of us have come out of matriarchal situations. Even if the man wasn't the head in the league, he was still a henpecked husband, and she really ran the shit. So that didn't even matter if he was more of the financial provider or whatever. He still was whipped, right? But what does it look like when men just don't agree with what women want to do, and they want to go in a different direction? And that's quickly turned into you not supporting black women, right? And that's the way she framed it. Trigger happy firearm. She did it. She went on her rant about black men being white supremacists and not supporting black women because they support pro-life. And I'm thinking like, well, the argument is that black men aren't patriarchal and black men don't do this and don't do that, and right, at least from the colorists and the Blackistans and the swirlers and all that, right? But isn't this a patriarchal thing to do? If you're a black man and you're saying, you know what, our previous generation of men, they failed. They allowed Margaret Sanger to come into the hood and convince black women that murdering their babies was fine, right? Like I said before, white women use abortion pills and they use abortion as a tool to negotiate with white men, but they could not have a bunch of black women out there having families and having babies and growing and catching up with them in numbers, so they had to go back and go, yeah, we can't have these black women, while we taking our strike, while we using this as a tool to get what we want, we can't have them out there having babies and having families and growing. And so that happened, right? And now black men are, from what I see, and I don't know how many it is really, because most in the mainstream media, most of the black men are whipped and, politically correct. Charlemagne and all those other men, they've taken the feminist side. Charlemagne just did an interview with some former model or chick, whatever, and she's a feminist, and he was co-signing everything she said. You even saw in a Bum Beat interview where Charlemagne's like, man, the black woman is God. I'm like, how did you get that out of this interview where the black man went after the guy who came and broke into his house and tried to kill him? And yet somehow the black woman became God in that situation. Sarge talked about that in deeper context, but I'm like, how did that happen? Like, where did that come from? Like, in any situation, you just can't get a black man credit for anything he does, right? But there were some men that came on a post disagreeing with her. I basically said that, to me, it's just simple. Like, the bill you saw in Alabama and the bill you saw in Georgia are simply white men using their power to counter their high suicide deaths. White dudes are killing themselves like crazy, and the fact that they're not procreating as much as they need to. And you see a lot of things going on with these pregnancy pacts that these women claim aren't on purpose. You saw the teachers all pregnant at the same time. You saw a nursing hospital staff where the majority of the women were white in both situations. Like, this ain't by mistake. This ain't by accident. These are things that are happening. I think consciously, it's just happening, right? And my question is, like, what are black folks doing in that situation? Like, if we're 13% of the population allegedly, and our numbers don't grow, and we know that we have higher infant mortality rates, black women die more in childbirth, more black boys are born, yet still we have higher infant mortality rates than black girls. We know all these statistics and datas. We know that some of these women from, in South Carolina, North Carolina, doctors were making these sisters barren on purpose without their knowledge. Tuskegee experiments. We know all these things were done to us, right, to stop us from procreating, stop us from our numbers from growing. And I try to make that correlation to the sister who, she completely understands, trigger happy firearms, that, a lot of the gun control laws disproportionately affect black people, and they hurt us. But you can't comprehend how many of the abortion clinics being set up and many of these laws and policies being pushed by Democrats, they also disproportionately affect us. Now, she took it in a different angle, and you can determine whether or not you agree with it or not, but her argument was, this is going to make black women more felons and this and that. And I'm like, really? Like, the abortion topic is sticky, right? Aborticide, rather. That's the proper terminology. Because I'm like, it's the 21st century. We got all types of tools and medications and stuff that you don't have to have an abortion, right? For the most part. Like, there's so much there to offer to prevent those things. Now, I get it. They say that for only 5% of the men in the world use condoms. That's a problem. But there are people who, back in primitive times knew, well, we can't have babies in the middle of the winter, so we got to time this right and only have sex on our cycles and all that type of stuff. I don't know why, but I remember high school, one of our teachers was telling us to sit. She was like, we don't use birth control, we don't use condoms. We just only have sex in that period of time that window when I can't get pregnant. And I'm just like, I don't even know why she told us that, but I'm saying that's a method that people actually use. Especially people who don't buy into the medical system and they understand that a lot of the birth control is poison and it has effects on women's bodies. But that's always been my angle. My angle has always been, we got to lower the need for abortions as we progress in a society with all the technological advances we've made. For whatever reason, women take heed to that tool and that ability to be able to do that. They feel empowered by able to do that. And I heard the silliness of, well, why don't we make every man go get a vasectomy? And I'm like, well, that's not a real equivalent of vasectomy versus an abortion. Whereas I could say if you said, hysterectomy, which nobody can force that, and she goes on in a rant about F that, a woman should be able to have a hysterectomy if she wants to. I'm like, yeah, this chick is losing me, right? Like, she's losing me. 100% behind her on the gun thing, but she went off about this abortion. She might have even deleted the post because she was going back and forth all day. I admit I troll and go deeper and whatnot, but I was just like, damn. So my question is, what should black men do in the situation, though? If you see white men making concerted efforts to curb their number decline, stop, the struggle, their generational wealth and passing their stuff down to their kids and staying at the top, like, they're doing things to keep that, which they should be doing, right? That's like 100%, like, that's what you're supposed to do. And if the black male response is to just agree with what the black women say and watch our numbers decline even more and more, like, I guess we get what we deserve then, right? I mean, like, just, you can point out that, again, all these other things that happen systematically that affect us, but you don't understand why us only being 13% of the population doesn't affect us too. And how other groups, like Dr. Claude Anderson has broken it down several times about how at one point there were only 5,000 Latinos in this country and they surpassed us within a 20-year span. How do they do that? And then the chick said to me that abortion doesn't have anything to do with our numbers going down. If in your city, which I remember this was years ago, numbers could have changed, but in my city, or the city closest to me, it was like for every 10 babies born, 9 black men die. Like, that's not a replacement rate, right? So there's a reason why our numbers have been steady. A lot of reasons, a lot of stuff. Again, infant mortality, diseases, poverty definitely being one of those issues. But I'm just confused that if you talking about white supremacy, this and that, and you see white supremacy, as you want to call it, making moves to protect their future and generations, but you want black men to not do what they're doing to protect theirs. You want us to come on the side as the women. And you had a couple of comments on there talking about it's a woman's body, her she can choose, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you can't be pro-black and support these bills. Now, I don't necessarily support the bills because they are extreme to the right. But I think they're just simply countering the bill in Alabama and the bill in Georgia are countering the bill you saw in New York and the bill you saw in Virginia. So you got white liberal men in New York and blue states saying, fudge it, you can kill babies up to whenever you want to. But we know that that's disproportionately going to be black women having those abortions. In New York, black and Latino women account for like 30-something% of the abortions, but only make up 6% of the population. Well, black women only make up 6% of the population. And it's like, how do we not address that? Or what do you really expect men to do in that situation? I don't know. And then you don't hear, like, all these women who are online crying about the lack of patriarchy. You don't hear no defense of them. You don't hear none of them talking about half. It's chicks on here that's talking about patriarchy and all this other stuff. And me and my dude don't want kids, and I don't even know if I want to get married. Like, then what value do you have in this with a patriarchal man? Like, you don't want to give him children. What the fuck is the point of building and leveling up and doing all that shit to not have children? Like, what's the point of that? Like, what are you doing? Like, the whole point of, you might as well be with an egalitarian dude who's cool with going half and half, because you're not having children. It's no lessons to teach your family, your son. He doesn't have to see certain things because he won't exist. Like, what is the point of that if you don't even want to have children? Which is, you're right, but I'm just saying, most people, that's something on the feminist side. Like, the feminists will be on that, we don't want kids, and he doesn't have to have control and power, and we're equal partners, and blah, 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 right? And then you also, as much as I teach leveling up and patriarchy and hypergamy, I still are teaching to keep your jobs and stuff like that, which, again, the patriarchal man, if he doesn't want you to work, he'll tell you to stay home and watch our kids. But again, the kids aren't coming. I don't know. I've been really thinking about this, how to put it into words, this dilemma of, we need to acknowledge that, like, if y'all want black men to be better and do better, that means there's a lot of stuff that y'all accustomed to be doing because y'all been having the freedom that you just couldn't do no more if you truly wanted to follow male leadership of men who are focused on doing the right things, right? Again, the dudes who don't have standards don't really care what you do because they don't have any standards for you. So you can do whatever you want to your body, do whatever you want in the world, and he's just going to be there because he doesn't have the expectations for you. But different caliber of men have different thoughts. Maybe I'll come back to this topic again when I have my thoughts on what I really want to say. But I do have a bunch of clips of this dilemma, this situation, where when you heard Paul Ryan, all the black people on YouTube heard Paul Ryan say, have more babies in so many words. And all y'all said was, that's some white supremacy stuff. Those are cold words. Those are dog whistles. Like, they're doing what they're supposed to do to keep their shit intact. They're doing what they're supposed to do to stay in power. And we're doing the things that are keeping us, numbers-wise, family structure-wise, behind. Not just the abortion thing, aborticide thing, but just not being married, having kids out of wedlock. Those things are going to keep us back. If they're promoting marriage and men staying with women and keeping kids, and we're co-signing abortions and doing whatever the fuck you want to do, as Sarge will say, I don't see us winning in that situation in the long term. I see us being a permanent underclass under other groups who are also not killing their babies, right? China, they acknowledge that they fucked up. Killing their little girls was just not smart. And a whole bunch of issues came about with that. The women don't have mates to choose from. A lot of the men are on some weird shit. And now they say, oh, what? Maybe we weren't smart to kill all our little girls off. Dudes were outsourcing women from other countries because they just didn't have enough women in their country. Like, it's a problem. When you have and then that leads to war. When you have too many men and not enough women, it's time to go to war. That could be what China is doing right now. This trade war could turn into a real war. Because China got a whole bunch of men just sitting there not doing nothing, not productive. And they got a big-ass army with bodies to waste that they can afford to waste because men aren't valued in a patriarchal system. As much as we say they shit on women, men's lives aren't valued at all. But that's just my thoughts. I see a lot. I haven't heard a lot of commentary on this yet from YouTube because we're, on other stuff like who's dating who and whatnot and colorism and all that other silly shit. But I don't think black women understand that the more black men do the things y'all claim that y'all want them to do, not just promotion and giving us validation, all that other dumb shit, but there's a lot of shit that come with that I don't think sisters is really to deal with. And I don't think they want. I don't think they really want black men. We know that. I'm talking about the women who claim to be traditionalists and who act like they're, about femininity and all that stuff. And they don't even act like that in their own videos, but they act like they subscribe to that logic. No, you don't. It's just convenient truth. It's just a convenience for you to shit on black men. Because if black men did start leaning, even Mr. Cynthia G, which after I heard her say that, he's like, why are you dudes following her? When she said that, she doesn't subscribe to patriarchy or male leadership, but she has no problem shitting on black men for not doing what other races of men doing. Like, I'm confused. Like, either you want them to step up the game and lead and do these things, or you don't. You can't. Then at the point, what's the point of you bitching and crying and complaining if you don't support the men doing the things that other races of men are doing and having that same power and control? You don't want that part. You want the benefits of it, but you don't want the hard shit, the sacrifice, the acquiescing that you have to do. When she said that, I don't care what Nate Parker said. If I was his wife, I would be in the media, blah, blah, blah. The man said he didn't want his wife in that situation. He wanted her to fall back. He got this. He don't want her taking on that stress. That's what patriarchal men do. But that's just my thoughts. This aborticide thing is going to go crazy. I don't think, again, for most of the black men in the public spaces, they're going to co-sign whatever the women say. That's where we at right now. But you got all these white Republican governors in red states acknowledging they have a problem and they're addressing it with power. Like, we're literally passing legislation that controls the opposite gender's bodies. Whew. That's powerful right there, baby. And so far, the complaints I've heard is that, you just wait till the Grapevine does their video, or for Harriet does her video. You know what I mean? Like, wait till they get to chime in on these conversations. They already believe that black men want to be white men and this and that, but tell us how. But then also accuse us of not protecting and providing enough. But the feminists believe that we already want to be white men. It's not just white men. Chinese men do the same thing. African men are on the same thing. That's why a lot of you don't even date your own men from your own tribe. You come to deal with black men because black men are different, right? We understand. We got issues here. But that's my rant. It can get too long with this.
School were pregnant at the same time. That's half the teaching staff.
It was just kind of crazy how we all it just kind of happened.
The teachers swear they didn't plan it this way.
I think you're smart.
Especially kindergarten teacher Tiffany Schmidt, who already has a 7- and 9-year-old.
I was so happy that everyone else was having babies because that I was done and surprise.
Good morning.
Principal Ashley Miller says in her 2 decades at the Oak Street School in Goddard, Kansas, she's never seen anything like this.
By the time the 7th one came and told me, I believe I leaned across my desk and said, "Are you kidding me?"
We know what you're thinking. Is there something in the water?
Nobody drinks our water anymore, and that is the joke throughout the district.
2 teachers gave birth to baby girls last week, and by October, there will be 8, yes, 8 babies. Teacher Kelly Jo Sheehan is pregnant with twins.
We were a big family before, but now we're an even bigger family.
News 4's Jamie Roth shows us how they're growing together. One hospital, all pregnant at the same time. News 4's Jamie Roth shows us how they're growing together.
Are we drinking something? Are we rubbing your belly on something that this has kind of happened? We're all really, really lucky.
They call themselves the Winthrop Pregos. Today in Mineola, the pride and joy of NYU Winthrop's labor and delivery and NICU floors talked about their pride and joys to be 15 nurses who deliver babies here are expecting their own.
What am I, 8? Number 8. Wait, you too? And I'm like, yeah, me too.
More than 5,000 babies are born at NYU Winthrop Hospital each year, but an in-house baby boom?
It's nice to know that we're all, in it together in a way.
2 boys, 6 girls, and a bunch of surprises. Heather Beebe will know next week when she delivers, right here.
I think it's amazing. I know that my baby's going to be in great hands.
Recently, 9 pregnant labor and delivery nurses from Maine and 10 from California have made headlines.
We beat them.
These ladies are champs, all planning to work right up until the end.
I said, of course I'm still working. What better place to go into labor?
And their bosses say this is good for business.
I'm glad that, they're finally coming into the folds with motherhood.
There's plenty of staff to fill in. NYU Winthrop knows what to expect when expecting. In fact, since October, 7 nurses from labor and delivery here have given birth, and now that group is starting to return from their maternity leaves.
These 16 nurses at Banner Desert's intensive care unit are all pregnant at the same time.
We all kind of formulated a plan to have the holidays off.
The moms-to-be have due dates ranging between October all the way through February.
The pink bow, I had to make it a little girly since I'm having a girl.
Ashley Atkins was one of the first nurses to make a pregnancy announcement.
It was me, and then found out one other girl. It was just the 2 of us. We're like, oh, this is so exciting. And then suddenly it was just another one, and another one, and another one.
For Paige Packard, this time around is bittersweet after losing her infant son 3 years ago due to a heart defect.
Ended up being a sad story. With everybody together, it's just like sharing the joy with everybody.
Though the expecting mothers may all be different when it comes to pregnancy things like cravings.
He could make the salad bar a little more pregnancy friendly, like add pickles.
They will always have this very special,
this one big happy pregnant nurse family.
Common bond.